we on? Are we live?
I pressed it.
Hey,
we're on. We are on and early for a warm up. Warming up. We're warming up. Headache. Warming up. Maybe that'll help. My new jacket. My new bogey box. All the sponsors. All the feels. Guys are ready to rock and roll. Yeah, I like it. Gonna play around with it a little bit. G-force swing. Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit. What's going on, everyone? We're a little early. I'm gonna hit some balls until we hit about 5. I guess what the hell? If you guys want to start rolling some questions, then we'll go whenever you're ready. I'm gonna hit some warm ups, throw some questions in. Hope everyone is doing well, and let's rock and roll. Volume is okay. I'm a little under the weather, but I think I'm gonna be able to keep the energy level up. It's funny being able to listen to that over there. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, fire away, and let's do it. Yeah. Please do stop by. Pookie, welcome. Well, thank you. You are very welcome. Yeah, so Bill, mirror view, we're still kind of in the process of testing mirror view. Obviously, we've been pushing the live view golf for a while because that's the first thing that I saw that really gives you where you can actually watch yourself when you're swinging. So we just did another video with that today. The mirror view, you have to have 2 smart products or smartphones. I don't know if it's purely Apple or if there's Android too. We just got the mirror view, played with it like a couple times, talked to Toby, I believe is the gentleman's name is, who runs it. Super cool. Love the idea. I haven't tested it enough to be able to feel comfortable in recommending it. I've only done it once or twice, but by all accounts, it's awesome. Obviously, the expense is down. You have to have 2 products. Like if you have a phone and an iPad, you can do it. This is with the live view, you pay to have the product. So if you got to pay and buy an iPad, I think it ends up washing. But it's cool. To me, the feedback wise, it's the only way to really expedite the process of actually getting better is seeing what you're actually doing. So I love the live view for sure. I think I'm gonna love the Mirror Vision Golf, but I gotta play with it a little bit more. Any questions in there? Neil, good gauge in making a full turn. I would say during the backswing, you're looking for roughly a 90-degree or even a little bit more shoulder turn when you go back, which is probably going to be supplemented by about a 45-degree hip turn. So some guys will just do like a simple drill to do would be grabbing a club or an alignment rod. If you take your normal setup position, put that inside of your right foot like this, take your normal setup position, club across the shoulders, and you're trying to get your club on your shoulders turned to the point where it's past the club on the ground. So if I go past the club on the ground like that, then I have a full 90-degree shoulder turn. That's essentially what I'm looking for when I'm making my turn like that. Am I way farther away from the camera now, or I look okay there? Good. Okay, next one. Yeah, that's okay. Just wondering.
Live move the mat.
Yeah.
Joey D is asking if it's possible to be laid off in transition.
Is it possible to be laid off in transition was the question? It is possible to be laid off in transition. So if I make a swing, and hang tight here, guys, I'm going to make some adjustments here. If I make a swing to the top here like this, yeah, this is better. Can I be laid off in transition and or shallowing the club? 100%. And that's more or less what you want to do. I don't know if you're saying that like, is it a bad thing to be laid off or is it a good thing? But can you be laid off? You can be laid off. If you're looking at good ball strikers and you get them to the top of their swing, whatever angle the club is on, so even if they're here, if they're more down the line, for sure you're going to see more of a plane shift. If they go up to the top and you're more over here at the top, then it's not going to shift as much as you start back down. But what you're looking to avoid is a steeper angle, a more laid off angle, or shallowing during the initial part of the downswing would be a good thing.
Mark is saying, hi, Eric.
What's up, Mark?
Do you throw the club head from the top of the backswing? I tend to chicken wing and hold club face open.
Do you throw the club head from the top of the backswing? You tend to chicken wing and hold it open. No, I would not throw the club head. If by throw you mean this, so unhinging or releasing. What I would do if you tend to chicken wing is two things. Number one, make sure you turn your body enough to support straight arms. If you don't turn your body, your arms have to bend, because I didn't turn. The speed of the club's got to go somewhere. So I'd say make sure you turn your body, number one. Number two, I would say make sure you have enough left arm supination. We did a video that will be out next week, I think. I kind of went on a little bit of a rant on left arm rotation. Too many of you guys are worried about rotating your arm too much, or that it adds too much time, or that's a bad thing. If you chicken wing and your club face is open and it's too far to the right, the last thing you should be worried about is timing. You need to close, and I don't mean to preach at you because I'm not saying this is a you thing, but you need to close the club face. Are you allowed to let your arm rotation or let your arm rotate? 100%. All good ball strikers let their arm rotate. So for you, make sure you have enough rotation. Have your left arm. Make sure you have enough left arm rotation. We have a video out from a couple months ago that I think is called "The Only Thing You Need to Do to Fix Your Chicken Wing," or if you just search my name and chicken wing, that will come up.
That and then
Yeah, and chicken wings.
Chris just has a comment. Hi, Eric. Found your channel a couple weeks ago. I love it.
Chris, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Pookie's asking, what should the finish look like as far as lean backwards and hips and things?
Finish position. Good news for you, Pookie. We just did a video on this the other day, so I would go back and watch that. What the finish should look like should look something like this. Body fully turned towards the target. So hips, chest, shoulders, all the way at my target. I want to have my belt buckle closer to the target than my chest. I'm up on my right toe. I'm fully extended. Squeeze my legs together. Squeeze my butt. Belt buckle and chest up towards the sky. Club is through my eye line. So it'd look like that. And that would look like this. If you watch the video from a couple days ago, you should be able to kind of go through it in more detail.
Neil's just a comment. I think you're the best instructor online. Love your steps.
Neil, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So Ryan saying he's having big trouble getting my left hip to stay back on the downswing. Definitely some early extension going on. It's destroying my progress. I'm hoping you can help, Eric. You're awesome.
That's Ryan who said that?
That is Ryan.
Ryan, thanks, man. Yeah, so I keep saying we just did videos because we're like 450 videos in, so we cover a lot of these things in videos we either just shot today or recently, so they're on top of my mind. We just did a video today on how to stop your slide. That's going to come out in the next couple of weeks, and it also talks about early extension patterns. So when you come down, and what I'm really talking about there, so if you're sliding, did he say sliding too much?
Early extension was the issue, but yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm having big trouble getting my left hip to stay back.
Oh, back. Okay. So if you're going too far this way, forward like this, I would watch some of our videos on early extension. Obviously, some of the things we preach all the time is from the top. You want to be reflexing your legs. You want to be getting your upper body closer to the ground. You want to be getting your right shoulder closer to the ground. You want to be having your hips more back. We did a video today that's going to come out here soon about getting your left hip working down and behind you as you're adding some right lateral bend here. So you're kind of doing a right crunch. You're getting your left hip going low and behind you. And as I do that from here, adding some right crunch, getting my left hip low and behind you, you can create some depth there like that. So I watch the early extension videos and go over all that stuff there first if you haven't already. We're going to be dropping a rotation masterclass product on the 18th of this month. That's going to go through some of these things that will help a little bit more with that too. And we're actually going to do an early extension masterclass probably in like 2 months from now. That'll go that. But if you watch the videos before, I would start with some of those feels.
Mike is saying, hello. My driver spin is so high, like over 4,000 on a launch monitor. I feel like I'm losing distance, hitting high weak fades. Any suggestions on how to stop these high spinny shots?
Yeah, so if it's spinny too much with your driver and high and weak fades, the two things you need to look at are dynamic loft, and you got to look at club face angle. So more or less, I would be looking to take your dynamic loft down. and I would be looking to make your club face less open to the path. If the ball's curving too far to the right, assuming kind of centers contact, club face is too open, I would look at that first. If the spin rate's too high, there's a lot of different factors that could be involved, and that could be where you're hitting the ball in the face. That could be the shaft. That could be the club head. That could be a lot of different variables. But what I would say with that is there's a thing called spin loft, which is kind of the difference here, this little angle, that difference between the angle of attack and the dynamic loft. And basically, the wider that gap is, the more the ball spins. The lower that gap is, the less the ball spins. So if you would imagine this is angle of attack, and I hit perfectly level like that, and this is dynamic loft. So if I were to hit 0, 0, and I have no dynamic loft, that's going to be a really small gap. Or you hit up on the ball and your loft is low, very small gap, very low spin. If you hit down on the ball, that gets that gap bigger, means more spin. And if you hit down on the ball with a lot of loft, the gap super big means a lot of spin. So I would check angle of attack and I would check dynamic loft and make sure your face is close to your path. There could be a lot of variables as to why that is. That could be grip, form, rotation, wrist conditions, ball position. I'd have to see your swing to be able to say for sure, but I would check those two pieces.
Excellent live graphics.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you.
Rick said, still have trouble getting the feel of laying the club off in the downswing. Any drills to get the feel?
Yeah, I would go purchase Shallow Your Downswing Masterclass, because in an hour, how long is that? An hour?
Oh, yeah.
In about an hour of, I would go through that in much more detail than what I would do right now. So without me seeing, was this Rick, you say? Rick, yeah, without me seeing your actual swing as to why you're having trouble, I really can't offer you too much more advice other than what we've already offered in the videos we have out. So if you search my name and Shallow, you'll see several videos of a lot of different fields and stuff that I might recommend. But the reality is, in terms of you struggling to field, there could be a lot of reasons. Maybe your setup or backswing, you're doing something that's causing you to steepen the shaft. Like maybe you're getting too far in here. Maybe you're too far flat and then you steepen this way. And that's why you can't do it. Maybe your face is too open. Maybe you don't rotate. I mean, there's so many things you could be doing that don't allow you to do it. I'd have to see those things. But in terms of advice, I'd give you stock. Without seeing your swing, I would just search my name, search Shallow, and watch those. That'd be the best advice I could provide.
Samuel wants to know, how important is it to have a very disciplined, specific setup routine that you use every single shot?
Yeah, so discipline setup routine, I think, is super important for, especially when you go play. So in practice wise, what I would say is most of the good players, if you watch them on the range, are really practicing fundamentals. So the better the player you are, the more important the minor details, in my opinion. So if you watch guys on the range, they're going to always have a stick down for their feet, and a lot of them are going to have a stick down for the ball target line. So they'll kind of have a stick out in front like this, and they're constantly checking alignment. And they're constantly checking ball position and things like that, right? So I wouldn't mind you having pieces like that to check in terms of aim, in terms of ball position, other body alignments. I would use video to check those things. And then from a routine perspective, when you're playing, I think it's super important that you do the same thing all the time. Like when I'm walking up, so you're not doing this for your full practice session, but at the end of a practice session, if you watch our perfect practice routine video, the last 25 balls, I suggest you do your routine just like you play. And when you set up like that, I would do the same thing every time. I go in with my feet very close together. Right hand puts the club out, left foot forward, right foot back. At that point, I'm gripping the club and stepping up and down, waggle, target, waggle, target, back to the ball, and then I go, and I'm moving the whole time. So I think in terms of routine, that's important, and in terms of practice, I would be checking those things, checking things that you need to check, and just keeping an eye on them.
Does that help you take stuff from the range to the course too?
Yes, definitely helps you take stuff from the range to the course.
Jason is asking if you have seen David Ledbetter's A swing. What do you think about it?
Have I seen David Ledbetter's A swing? What do I think about it? Some of it, I like the general concepts. Some of it, I think, is overdone. I talk a lot about, and some other coaches talk a lot about the fact of during the backswing, you want to have the shaft a little bit steeper during the backswing than on the way down. I think Ledbetter kind of, how do I want to say this? Some guys do some things to market things easier. Okay. Meaning like when we sell a product or we do a YouTube video, we'll put a video like, do this one thing. So you hit it, 30 yards farther away. You have to play that game, right? If you're looking to monetize things and make money off things, you have to play a game. So if I'm trying to monetize something, is it easier for me to put something into a model and kind of make it a thing so I can sell a book, so I could do a series, whatever? Of course it is, right? So I think probably what part of it is like he sees some things he likes in swings. He talks to a business guy. They say, hey, if you make this a thing, whatever, the A swing, that's really easy to sell compared to like David Ledbetter's things he likes in swings. You see what I'm saying? So then you kind of have to put pieces together. So whatever. So I like the shaft being more vertical during the backswing because that's what most good players do, and because it's easy to create speed and it's easy to shallow the downswing. So when I go back, the shaft being more vertical, he talked about that in the A swing. When he's coming back down, some of the shit with like setup and other stuff, I think it goes a little overboard. Is kind of my long answer to that question. But I do like the shaft being more vertical when you go back for most people. I like that part of it specifically.
Franklin is asking thoughts on bending the right wrist back before impact.
Thoughts on bending the right wrist back. You already know that I like bending the right wrist back a lot. If you watch some of our videos, we're going to be dropping a video. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not. With Chris Ryan. If you guys know Chris Ryan Golf, we just did a collab with him where we're doing a wrist angle video where we're talking about the right wrist and the left wrist. We're going to be doing, you know what, too, on here, we're going to be doing a bunch of collabs this year with some golf people. If you guys want to comment in there, some people that you would like to see us do a video with, put in there and let us know. So anyway, right wrist, I like that. I like it. Depends on your grip, but when you go to the top, if I want my club face to be square, my right wrist, yeah, a little dance move here. My right wrist should be bent back. If my right wrist was flat, look at my club face too far up and down like this. Here's my right wrist that's bent back. In transition, here's my right wrist that's bent back, bent back, bent back, bent back. The more I bend my right wrist back, the more the club face gets closed and it takes loft off. Closes the face, takes loft off. If I flatten my right wrist out, what just happened? So look at that closely here. Here's my right wrist, flat, club face is open. If I do nothing else but bend my wrist back, look at what that does to the club face. Hey-oh, right? Club face tilted down. And club face tilted down when I'm coming into the ball allows me to do the rotation, allows me to get my handle forward, etc. You can feel like your right wrist is bent back at different points during your backswing. You can feel it during the initial downswing phases, and you can feel it through impact. Some people say, hey, you shouldn't feel this right wrist bent forever. You need to let it throw. Of course, in reality, good players who have club faces that are square enough and who have enough speed, you're releasing this right wrist into impact slowly. Now, if you watch yourself on video and your right wrist is released back here, should you feel like your right wrist stays bent longer? Of course you should. Should you be thinking about flicking this to impact? Absolutely not. That should feel like it's bent back all the way into the follow through. So there's another long answer to the answer is yes.
Robert was so, raising your head in the backswing.
How do you keep from raising your head in the backswing? The simple answer is record yourself, draw a line on your head. And if you go too far up, you should always, in all the flaws, feel the opposite of what you're currently doing. So Robert, it was?
Robert.
What's the opposite of up? Down, right? So when you go make a backswing, if you see you go too far up, you should feel like you go down. In terms of literal things, the things we're looking at when you go up versus down in the backswing is probably mostly left side bend. So if I stood up normal like this, and I tilted to the left, my head, see where it's here? When I add left side bend, I go down, it lowers me. So during my backswing, the more my left shoulder goes down, the more I add side bend. You see how I go down and forward with that? If I turn with my shoulders very flat, I will go up taller. That would be the main part to look at, as well as weight in the feet. The more I go back towards my heel, usually the taller I'll get. The more I go forward, the lower I get. So left side bend would be the main priority. One cause can't put your left shoulder down. So I don't can't meaning like you're trying to do it and you're not doing enough, or like physically you're incapable of doing it. We certainly have videos of how to do it or thoughts on that. If you watch how the left shoulder works, how to tilt your shoulders during the backswing, that will give you drills to do in terms of that. So when you say can't, I don't know what you mean. Like you can't do it enough or what physically. There's a ton of different feels. You can feel like you're crunching your left side here, doing a left side ab crunch when you go down, left shoulder down towards the ground, right shoulder up and back. A lot of different things to do this. So there's different drills there like that. But when you say can, if you're not physically capable of doing it, then I would say, okay, if you're going to turn flat, what do I need to do with that? Well, from here, I need to get my left shoulder back down then in transition. So I'm not going to go tilt enough going back, and I'm going to go too flat. You want to avoid getting this way. You're going to go flat and then get your left shoulder back down as you come down. So if you're going to be flat up to the top, recreate the left side bend, keep enough right lateral bend so you stay centered, and then you can rotate from there.
TJ says, I know we want a straight left arm, but my left elbow gets too locked out. Where should my left and right elbow be at setup?
Yeah, so not locked, right? So like your left arm should be relatively straight, and then your right arm should have some amount of bend to it, but it should not be locked. So you have to excuse me with the water here. Tylenol would be beautiful. Left arm and right arm at address. Not locked, not super bent, some amount of bend. How much your arm is rotated or not depends on your grip. So the stronger your grip is of your left hand, the more your arm's going to be rotated. The stronger your grip is, the more arms rotated. The weaker your grip, the less rotated it is. So in terms of this way or this way, is going to depend on your grip. In terms of how straight or not it is, it should be pretty darn close to straight, but not completely locked. I think you kind of answered your own question there, but like that's kind of what that should be.
Jeffrey just says, help over the top swing.
Over the top, Jeff, I would look at any of the shallower downswing, specifically if you're over the top and haven't been able to fix it. You know, always you want to go back and look at root causes. Why are you over the top? Probably either because your face is open and there's a pivot problem, or I mean, 80% of the time it's because your club face is open. So I would say make sure your club face is square close first. And if you're over the top, you'll hit pull, 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 pull. And then eventually you can swing your, get shallow downswing out to the right. Of course, we always use this practice station that you can find. If you search our how to hit a draw video or any of our shallower downswing videos, we always use this practice station with the noodle, where we put this little stick in here, if I could find it. If that's my ball there like that, I would put this here and put a little directional aid, a little stick behind me, like so. And to the point where that would be in my way, and I need to learn how to hit without hitting this noodle, right? So getting the club head working low and inside during my downswing, and just starting with little short shots and kind of gradually working your way up until you can hit pretty full shots with that. And this would be the main one that I would work in person over the top, or the one in front if you search any of the shallow or how to hit a draw videos.
Steve says that he asked in one of the recent videos about squat just prior to the downswing for more power. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like it. Steve, the squat videos, yeah, what do I think of it? I like it. So if you watch good players from the top, they will almost all from here reflex their legs some amount in transition. So like if you watch guys like George Gankas or Gigi, which I love his stuff, he'll exaggerate that where you're going like down like this, right? Or if you're going here, but he's only really doing that as a drill, right? If you watch any of this, he's only really doing that as a drill. But if you watch good players from down the line, they will reflex their legs some amount. And if I just stood up and I flex my legs or bend my legs, what do? I squat, I go down. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much an essential movement in terms of athletic, creating rotation, creating speed. There should be some down and around. How much you need to feel that or not is based on what you currently do.
During the downswing and without pulling down, can you show the down the line view on the right hand from P6 to P5 and eventually to P4 without going across the target line?
Say that one more time.
Let me say it again. During the downswing and without pulling down, can you show the down the line view of how the right hand from P6 to P5 and eventually to P4 without going across the target line? I guess what it.
So during the downswing, P6, P5, P4, so that's kind of reverse order. I don't know, maybe you have your P's a little lined up, but P4, right? So here, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6. So you're saying from P6 to P, he's saying P6 to P5 to P4 without going down the line. Or without going across the line.
Yeah.
So I can have so whether I go across the line or not has a lot to do with arm rotation. So here, if I go over this way, right? So this is arm rotation, all forearm rotation there compared to there. There's my right across the line or laid off, right? Across the line, laid off. So that's all arm rotation. So that has part to do with whether it's across the line or not, is how much arm rotation I have. And then there's also internal, external rotation of my trail shoulder. When I go to the top, the more internally rotated this way I am, the more across the line I am. The more externally rotated this way that I am at the top, the more it's laid off here. So external rotation with a little arm rotation over here, I can still rotate my form and get it across the line. So whether it's across the line or not is internal external rotation of your trail shoulder and how much you rotate your right arm or not at the top. I'm not sure what you were saying in terms of P6, P5, P4 and stuff like that, but that's the deal with that.
Why is it important to start steep and then flatten out during the transition versus just starting flat and staying flat throughout?
It's not important in terms of starting steep, staying, going to flat, or just stay flat, go flat. Either way is fine. Meaning you can go more one plane, external rotate, get it behind you and keep it behind you, or you can go more vertical and then lay it down. Two things as to why you might want to go more vertical. Number one, most people, if it goes more up like this, you get equal and opposite if you don't tug it down during the downswing and use your body right, and it'll lay down by itself. I've tended to find more speed with that. So like, again, if you watch George Gankis' stuff up to the top with the trail arm more here and the shaft more vertical, there's more speed production from there usually. And a lot of times you get a more easier shallow reaction, but there's nothing wrong with going up here, leaving it behind you and then coming back down. A lot of people who get too flat get too steep this way. It's like equal and opposite. They get too flat, a lot of times too early, butt of the club beyond ball line up to the top, and then they get this here. So if we're looking at this as a ball target line, the issue is equal and opposite. So if I go here like this and I go back, usually if you go flat here or you're flat here outside line, it'll come back and get too steep here. Whereas you can get a little bit inside ball line, it's easier to get it flatter during the downswing part.
Joey is asking if there's loss of power if you don't get the club parallel.
Is there a loss of power if you don't get the club parallel? No, not for everyone. I mean, there's some super guys that are on, like Tony Finau. What's his name that just won? JB Holmes. Both of those guys are short of parallel and then really rip it from there. So I would say not necessarily. I think for most people, we're looking to get a big old shoulder turn and a reasonably short arm swing. So I like big turn, neutral arm swing. I don't like short turn. I don't like a real long arm swing that's disconnected. I like a shorter arm swing with a big turn.
John's asking what's the best drill for getting your hands ahead at impact, like Cameron Champ?
What's the best drill for getting your hands ahead at impact? So a club face that's square, body rotation, and a good swing direction. A club face that's square, body rotation, and a good swing direction. If you have all three of those things, the odds of getting your hands forward increase. Most good players at impact will have their hands more or less over their left leg, left shoe. Okay, poor players will be back here. Now, why do poor players back here and they flip? They flip because they didn't have their club face square, they didn't rotate, or they had a bad swing direction. See what I did there? So if you take those three things away, the odds of having the hands forward increase. If you have an open club face, you will never, ever, 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 ever have your shaft forward at impact and play good golf. Ever, ever, ever. If you have a steep downswing like this, you've got a small chance of having the handle forward. If you don't rotate well and you're here, you can still shove your hands forward and play, and you could bow it down like that. But if your club face is open, you got no chance. So you'd have to look there first, and then work from there.
You're saying never.
Never. Club face being open is the root of like 80+% of swing flaws. It's amazing when you like study things and you kind of get to the understanding things as you get older. I think how things kind of come back to a couple simple things, and club face being open is paramount.
Got Denise on the line again. She
Denise, which one?
Last week, but struggling to get distance on a long putt.
Yep.
Is the longer stroke or combo of the two is the easiest thing?
So Denise, getting better potentially with the speed, but struggle with long putts. Number one is practice, 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 practice. So getting good at long putts and putting speed control in particular, out of all the things in golf, is the most time intensive, where it's more feel, less mechanics. Having said that, we talked before about like stroke length and acceleration rate. I like to see as a stock that the stroke length back and through is relatively the same, or a little longer back, a little shorter through. I do not like short back and long through because of acceleration rate issues. On longer ones, okay, I don't mind there being a little bit of wrist hinge. I don't mind it being a little bit handsy. I don't mind any of that. I want you to be athletic as much as possible. Like you're rolling a ball from point A to point B and getting good at that, right? If I was rolling a ball 30 feet from here, I wouldn't be super static and just trying to like perfect my technique of it. I would just try and be athletic with it and see what happens and roll it over and over and over again. So I wouldn't be overly mechanical, especially from longer distances when you're working about speed. I would try and keep my tempo relatively neutral and keep my stroke length relatively neutral. The general thing to have in your mind would be that I'm trying to keep my tempo more or less the same, whether it's 3 feet or 300 feet. That might not technically be true, but that's kind of the idea. You're not trying to hit it so much harder because you're longer. You're just trying to lengthen your stroke out is the general idea.
I have a question related to that.
Yeah.
Should people also be recording their putting stroke?
Should people be recording their putting stroke? It's probably not a bad idea. I think it's less realistic, though. I don't think a lot of people can actually do that. I think your bang for your buck on recording your stroke is probably less than your full swing, but for shorter putts and start line is probably a good idea. You can get more feedback from your putting with doing a gate drill, because like if you do a gate drill with your putting and your putting all that is good, you can cover more shit than like one drill full swing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Dave T is asking any tips to stop my hands getting too quick on the downswing. Sometimes my flight is starting left and then drawing too much.
So Dave, starting left and drawing too much, hands too quick, right? So hands too quick is completely relative term. Neither you nor I don't even know what that means. Too quick relative to what? Are we slowing them down? Why are we slowing them down? We don't even know if that's the issue or not. So I'm going to kind of go past that. Starting left and drawing is the main issue in terms of ball flight. What you need to determine is, do you want to change the start line or do you want to change the draw part? Meaning, start left, curve left is a problem. If it starts right, curves left, now it's not a problem anymore. Or if it starts left, curves right, not a problem anymore. So do you want to keep the draw? If so, then we need to learn how to start the ball to the right. Without seeing you swing, I would start with something simple and say, take a stick, put it like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards in front of you, right in line with your ball target, like this here, and then learn to hit the ball to the right of it. If you watch our videos from the summer, we have a couple on there about like the 4 essential skills or things you need to do. Start line control, or search my name, and some along those skills and start line. And we talk about putting that stick in front. I would start there. In terms of actual mechanics, could be a lot of different things.
Kim is saying swing speed was 7 iron in the high 60s to low 70s.
Yeah.
Any tips to get that swing speed higher?
Yeah. So Kim, swing speed in the 60s, 70s. So like there's 2 parts, maybe 3 parts to swinging a club faster to me. One of them is mechanics. So there are some things you can do in terms of increasing mechanics. Can't give you specifics about seeing you swing. If you watch our effortless power or my name and create speed, any of that will tell you the things I like. That includes pressure shifting in the feet on both sides. That includes big turns on both sides. That includes extension on both sides. So those to me would be the 3 main moves in terms of the body: shifting pressure to the right and left, big turns on both sides, and extension on both sides. Certainly there's things with the club. I like to see the club going more vertical, going back, shallowing on the way down to create speed. Those would be things. So part 1 is mechanics. Part 2 would be training speed. So we've been recently using these super speed. I've been using them because I'm going to do a fitting next week, then a club champion, and my club head speed I want to be like ridiculous, something like reasonable. So we're using these super speed things. I don't know if you can see these or not, if you're using or not. I really like them. We just did a video with one of my buddies who's a long drive guy that'll come out soon on using super speed sets. I've been using it. I like them. I used it when they first came out and they work good, and then I just like stopped. And so I got these back in. My club head speed has been going up. I've been monitoring it. We'll put a video out on that. So this is something cool. You have to pay for these. I don't know what these, $200. So you could use these. You can do some things with your clubs like this, but I would just grab these super speed over under. The point being, yeah, we'll put the link in the description after this video. The point being, you have to train your body to move fast. Like if you're going to go to the gym and train explosiveness or being an athlete, that would work. Or I would use these things. I do it. It takes like 10 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. This actually does work, increases your speed. We'll put a link in the description afterwards. Mark, yeah, me too, man. Me too.
Samuel's asking, on the backswing, do you feel like you're lifting the club or like you're heaving it over your shoulder?
Yep. So always with the who's this? Samuel.
Samuel.
Always with these, super hard to answer a feel question because that's always specific to the person. Depends on where you're coming from. Depends on where I'm coming from. I have people who feel all kinds of stuff during the backswing. What we need to be concerned with is what actually happens. You need to feel what it is, not you specific, all of us. You need to feel whatever you need to feel to create what actually should happen. My goal here is to tell you what should actually happen, what are checkpoints you should hit, and then your job is to come up with feels that create those same movements. So should you feel like it's going up here, even though, I mean, you can feel whatever you want. I got people who feel right side things, people who feel left side things. I got guys who go up too much and they're feeling down. I got gals who go down and they're feeling up. I got people who are feeling this. I got people who are feeling this. I got all kinds of stuff. So it really depends on where you're coming from.
What can I learn from the D plane concept when hitting driver versus irons?
What can you learn from D plane concept, driver's irons? The D plane, the simple terms is angle of attack affects your club path. And what that means is the more down you hit on a ball, the more down you hit on a ball, the more down you hit, the more it kicks your path to the right. The more up you hit, the more it kicks your path to the left. More down, path more right. More up, path more left, which just means the more and more and more you hit down on the ball, the more and more and more and more you hit down on the ball, the more you have to shift your swing direction to the left to even it out. And the opposite's true. The more and more and more you hit up on a ball, the more and more and more you have to swing to the right to even it out. So with a driver, if you hit up on your driver a couple degrees, you have to swing more to the right to even it out, to neutralize it, or it'll fade too much. That's kind of the general theme of the concepts we're trying to get across there.
I know you're not doing is there anything you recommend for working on plane?
Yeah, there's a ton of things I recommend for plane. Depends on what plane you're working on. Backswing, downswing, are you too far inside out? Are you too far over the top? If you watch our videos and search kind of whatever your issue is, you should be able to see some swing plane drills. We do a lot of drills depending upon, again, what you're looking for. You can put, if you're too far outside in, you can put a stick back here that's angled down like this, or you can put a stick in front that's angled into the left. If you're too far inside out, you can put a stick here you got to swing over the top of, or you can put a stick up here that you got to swing underneath. So if you're someone who's too far inside out, you can search how to cure your hook for good. We'll go through those stations with that. If you're too far outside in, hit search how to hit a draw, and that'll show you those options.
Brian saying, hey, Eric, like the content a lot. Was wondering, I have a ball that starts straight and I have a 10-yard draw.
Yeah.
Get the face to the right. Can I get the face to the right? Get the ball that way so it draws over the target line.
You hit the ball and it starts straight and then it curves to the left. Yeah. So your options are start the ball more right or make it curve less to the left. If you want to keep the curve to the left, you have to start it to the right. How would you do that? You have options. Aim more right, put the ball more back, change your club face at address, change something so your club face in swing is less close to the path. So I would do the same thing and just take a stick and line it up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 paces in front of me. Put it right on the target line, take your stance, come up here, look to the right of the stick and say, oh my God, that looks so far right. And then try and be athletic first and just hit it to the right of it and see what happens. There are no rules to this game. Whatever works goes that you can repeat consistently. So you have options. Of course, that means seeing. I can't say which one would be right for you, but aim, ball position, swing direction, club face angle, release pattern. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do that, but I would put a stick in front and see what feels best for you first.
David Green is asking.
David Green, what's up?
What fundamentals/concepts would you teach someone that didn't have a lot of time to commit to practice but wanted to enjoy playing?
I would teach. It's a good question, David. What fundamentals would I teach someone who doesn't have a lot of time but enjoys playing? I would teach the same fundamentals to someone whether they have a ton of time or no time, and that would be very dependent on what they're currently doing. And that's just the shitty answer to all these questions. Is so, for example, if that person A, club face is open and they're over the top. Person B, grip is too strong and they're too far inside out. What would I teach person A or teach person B? Completely different things, no matter how much time they do or don't spend, because it's relative to where they're coming from. If you were coaching someone to lose weight and they weigh 300 pounds and wanted to weigh 200, you would coach them different than someone who weighs 150 and wants to get up to 200. So where you're starting the journey at is really relevant to what you would coach them or not, regardless of time. That's the real answer to that question.
Dan saying, I've been hitting full draws sometimes. Is it alignment or possibly a slight over the top move? I'm a 2 handicap.
Hitting pool draws, I'd have to see to say for sure. that could be a couple different things. Depends on specifically where the ball's starting and how much it's curving. What I would do is the same thing I just lined up. Like, I'm not going to do it again. Three times there, putting a stick in front. And I put a stick in line with you and the target and line up and learn to hit it to the right of that. Sometimes people think that, you know, it's funny. Sometimes people will come in for lessons and I'll do that. And then they like boom, 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 hit it great and pure it. And they figure it out. And then the assumption is that's too easy. I've been hitting this pull draw for 5 years. You put a stick in front. It can't possibly be that simple. Yes, it is. Okay. Now you need to put that stick in front and hit balls for the next 5 years. Okay. Nothing's going to happen in one little thing. I'm going to give you something you have to work on. But you can be athletic with it like that. And then in terms of micro swing mechanics, there's 100 things that could cause a pull draw. I would have to see you swing to give you specific advice for that.
John saying with the distance wedges, I've seen players do mini versions of their swings and others that do a stiff long arm bunting motion. Which of those techniques do you recommend and why? Yeah,
the wedge, real quick, what I'm saying about these swing things too, right? You guys know that we did this CogornoGolf.com. We're doing a 14-day free trial now instead of a 7. When I say I need to see your swing, I genuinely mean that. We created that so you have an easy option so you don't have to come to me. Now, some of you guys are on here that I personally work with that are going to come in. Some of you guys will do online lessons, and that's perfectly fine. Those of you that don't want to do either one of those two, want to get better and me help you, then check out CogornoGolf.com. You can put your swings in there. I will give you feedback so that I can really, really help you. Unless you want to fly in and come in. I'd rather you fly in and come in person, but if you can't do that, that's the next best thing. So wedge systems, there's different ways to do it. What I like to do, if you watch our Surefire, the video this year called Surefire Wedge System, I believe it's called. Surefire was definitely in the title. I like to build a system with one club at one speed and just adjust swing length as much as possible. As you get a higher skill level and shoot lower scores, you have to add trajectories to that and maybe even curves to that. But in the beginning, I would take one club, for me, my 56. Let's say you can hit that up to 100 yards. And I would create a swing where the ball goes each distance. So for 30, I go back to my thigh, through to my thigh. 40 is back to my pocket with my hands, all of my hands, through to my pocket. 50 is hip, hip. 60 is above hip, 70 is rib, rib. 80 is chest, chest. 90 is shoulder, shoulder. 100 is full swing. Now, should you do the swing where you go long arc, no hinge, like a Jason Day model back and through? You can. Should you do more of a model where you go hingy and more narrow when you come through? You can. The answer is neither one of those is correct or incorrect. I've had really good players I've worked with that have done both. Depends on how much you want to use the bounce. It depends on your grip. It depends on your backswing plane. It depends on your wrist conditions. So I'd have to see, here we go again. I'd have to see you to say for sure which one. But I would recommend building that model either way you go with one club. And once that gets easy, then I would go back 30 through 100 and learn how to go low 30, medium 30, high 30, low 40, medium 40, high 40. For me, the players I work with that are around scratch or competitive players, we would go through all those low, medium, high from 30 to 100 until you could land the ball within 3 yards consistently. Land the ball within 3 yards consistently.
Any female swings that you recommend for me to study increase swing speed?
From Kim? Any swings I would recommend for you to study to increase speed? Not really. I mean, any male or female golfer who hits it far, I think will exhibit some things that will create speed. So I don't think gender's that specific with it. But you can look. I mean, if you look on the LPGA Tour and look on who drives the ball the farthest, and then go YouTube their swings and see what they all do in common. The couple commonalities, I could save you time because I've been doing that for the past like 15 years. The couple things they all do in common are the things we talk about in our effortless power videos or creating speed. We're actually going to shoot a speed series on Wednesday to talk about that more. The mechanics you can do is part 1, and then use super speed or something like that. Train yourself to move faster, part 2. Combine those two together because there's a lot of micro things. I mean, to hit the ball, create speed, hit the ball farther. Like I said, I mean, pressure in the feet, how much you turn back and through, creating extension, where the shaft is at. I mean, there's a lot of micro parts that could go in there depending upon what you currently do. Yeah, for sure.
What if you can't do a normal long backswing without raising your head because you're too stiff? Should I just try and make a smaller backswing like John Rahm?
I would say when people say, so the question was when you're too stiff and you make a backswing and
Can't do a normal long
You
backswing.
can't do a normal long backswing, yeah, because you come up like this. Most people who claim or tell me that they're too stiff or don't have flexibility actually don't have a problem with that. The problem is not flexibility or how stiff they are. It's that they just don't move their body correctly. It's just a movement pattern issue. And what I mean is, like, if you can't turn on the way back, I would say number one, are you letting your left heel come up? Get your left knee to kick in. So at the top, your knee, this part of your leg is in here. So you want your knee at least in line with your hip and probably in more. Get your huge belt buckle turn. And now all of a sudden, I can turn good. If I make a backswing and I don't lift my heel up, if my left knee doesn't kick in, I don't turn my hips, then guess what? Yeah, I can't turn at all either, right? I got no turn from there. My left shoulder feels real tight. I can't do anything. But if I let my heel come in, I let my knee kick in, I let my belt buckle turn, now all of a sudden, me too, not flexible, can make a huge turn. So I would challenge the thought that you're not flexible enough and look at some of those. We've done some videos on how to increase turn during your backswing where I talk about some things you can do, foot flare, allowing your trail leg to straighten, the extension parts, things like that. And check that first before you assume that, and then work from there, kind of depending upon the results.
Luke Kim is asking, how do I late extend? Can you talk a little bit too about some of the stuff we did in the video today? When you're talking about that, I mean, this is more this is probably more early extension.
What was it? What was this? What question?
How do I late extend?
So how do you late extend? It depends on when you're talking about backswing or follow through. If you're talking about backswing, what we're talking about from extension is this way. So chest more up towards the sky type of feel like this. Should feel in the middle of your thoracic extending. You should have extension during your backswing. It should kick in from about left arm parallel, from about here to the top is where you kick into extension. You go back into forward flexion in the early parts of your downswing. And then from about here into the follow through, now you're re-extending here again. Okay, so from this side, you're in forward flexion. Once you get to about left arm parallel from here, you're kicking in some extension from there to keep lengthening out the backswing, reflexing forward to about here, and then you're kicking into extension on the way through. So chest more up towards the sky on either side will be one feel. Feeling the middle of your back extending. Or what we talked about today was more of your legs extending. So when I go here like this during the backswing, I'm allowing my trail leg to straighten. My knees get closer together, I reflex, and now I'm squeezing my legs together, squeezing my glute, lengthening out my quad, belt buckle forward, chest up towards the sky in the follow through. So yeah, you extend your lower body and your upper body, depends on whether you're talking about backswing or follow through.
John's got an interesting question. Eric, Johnny Miller was a lefty playing righty. Mickelson is righty playing lefty. I've heard it said that you have better club head control with the dominant arm leading. What do you think?
I don't think there's so the playing left. If you're left-handed playing righty or righty playing lefty, I don't know that there's actually any science behind that. I could buy into it on paper. Like if I'm playing left-handed or let's say I'm swinging right-handed, I'm actually a lefty, so my club's in my left hand compared to my right hand. I could buy that. I don't have an answer to that, whether that's true or not. I haven't found golfers that are playing on the opposite side of whether lefty or righty to be overwhelmingly better than someone who's the other way. Like meaning, yeah, Phil was righty, plays lefty. Tiger was righty, played righty. Tiger was better. Like so that there goes that theory, right? So yeah, I don't know. You know, I think I could give you examples of guys on both sides of it that would mean to me no huge thing on either way.
Jim says, "Hi Eric, you're the best. I'm 71 years old and hips don't rotate anymore. I'm now going to work on rotating my chest. Any pitfalls that I should look for in doing?"
I was thinking about something as you were saying that. Read that again for me. Sorry.
Jim.
Yep.
Eric, you're the best.
Yep.
I'm 71 years old and the hips don't rotate anymore. I'm now going to work on rotating my chest. Any pitfalls that I should look for in doing?
So Jim, hips don't rotate when I rotate the chest. I'm assuming downswing. Yeah, so watch all the videos. If you're talking about backswing or downswing, I'm assuming you're talking downswing and your hips aren't opening as much. You want to work on rotating your chest. We're dropping a video on Wednesday called something along the lines of a golf swing for senior golfers. Best swing for senior golfers, which is for those of you that can't turn as much into the follow through. As much as we talk about rotation, and if you can rotate, you should rotate, and it leads to better golf. I also have a lot of guys, and I've met a lot of people who don't rotate the best and still play really good golf and shoot really good scores. So it's not like life or death or one or the other. So if you're not going to rotate your hips as much, there's certain things that you should do with swing direction, in my opinion. There's certain things you do with swing direction. There's certain release patterns that I would work along with that. I'm going to save that for the video Wednesday and say, watch that, and then ask me questions based on that. That's going to answer the question you just said in like 10 minutes, much more detail.
Joe is asking, what's the training aid called that you're using with the noodle? That's the Mike Bender.
This one here? So what's the training aid for the noodle? We got this from Mike Bender's site. It's called a shaft holder. It's like $100. Could probably build it for like $5. But I really like it. I've used it for a long time. It's still working good. It's a little beat up, but it's nice inside. Or also if you're outside, you just use a range bucket. Like when we're out at Bethlehem, we use a range bucket and put a alignment rod through it. It works good like that too. But this is good for inside and mats. It's easy.
Jason's asking, the best technique to get a 90 degree shoulder turn in the backswing, also separating left shoulder and getting it out from underneath your chin in the downswing, not so jammed in the downswing.
Yeah, what's the best way to do that would be do it, right? Do what you just told me. So how do you get a 90-degree shoulder turn when you go back? Record yourself, make a backswing where your left shoulder goes down, and keep turning until you're 90 degrees. Explain to me or yourself exactly what that feels like, and then do that and repeat it. And then how do you get your chin from underneath your shoulder, or your shoulder from underneath your chin? How do you do that? You get your chin or your shoulder from underneath your chin. Record yourself and do it. So I don't mean to say like a dick. I'm saying like you got do what you just explained to me. Record it so you know if you're doing it or not, and then make the adjustments so you see in the video what you're trying to accomplish. How you make a huge shoulder turn when you go back is you make a huge shoulder turn. There's no tricks around that, right? You just have to make sure you're tilted as you turn. I'd have to see your swing as to say maybe why you're not doing that, and then how you get your left shoulder out from open in front of you is you open your shoulders, right? You go here like this, and then you open them as you start coming back down. That's all.
Jeffrey's saying, what's your theory on balance? I always fall forward.
My theory on balance is equal and opposite, and there's just reaction. So if you're falling forward, you're probably either, number one, too far on your heels at some point, or you're standing too far away from the ball. I'm gonna expand on that. So if I'm taking a setup like this, and I'm really far away from the ball, where do I need to get my weight so that I can, this is a ridiculous example, but where do I need to put my weight to try and hit it? If I'm in swing like this, I'm going to go more and more and more on my toes to try and get to the ball, and then I'm going to lose my weight forward. The other possibility is your body is also always counterbalancing, which means if you're too far on your toes at the beginning, you're going to go back on your heels at some point. If you're too far on your heels, you're going to go back on your toes at some point. So if you're too far on your toes, you're either too far on your heels at some point in time in your swing, or you're too far away from the ball and you're falling forward to try and get to it. Is like 90% of what I would normally see in that circumstance.
I see our friends at Bogey Box Golf are watching and give us a thumbs up.
Bogey Box Golf, yeah.
Do a little shout out.
We are this fancy little jacket that you see here. I don't know if you guys know, but like I have like 3 outfits that I wear. I'm like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, and I wear the same thing all the time. So we just Nick from Bogey Box. We just talked to, and he sent me an initial thing. It's like one of those monthly deals where you answer a bunch of questions. They send you clothing. Like for me, I'm a convenience guy. This up glove that I like, I like the quality of the glove and it's good, but really I like the convenience. I pay a small fee. They send me gloves every month or every quarter. Same thing with Bogey Box. So this nice new fancy jacket that fits really good, if you can see. It was from Bogey Box. You go online, and we're going to do a partnership with Bogey Box because I really like Nick, and Mary does too. And I like the clothing. It was very simple, and I returned a couple of things. So you fill out a bunch of questions. They style you up with what you like. You can do it on a whatever basis. I'm still figuring that out. And then I kept 3 things. I returned 2. He's been really cool through the whole process. So we're going to do some stuff with Bogey Golf. That for those of you guys that like convenience like me, I need some new clothing, and I don't like shopping. And the thing with Amazon and the thing that with them is like the shirts and all that fit so different. I don't know if you guys ever get like, I could order like the same freaking shirt from the same company in 2 different models, and like one's too big, one's too small. So I'm trying to work with Nick and see how good he actually is. If he's watching this, he's been good at like, I give him feedback. I say how it fits what I like, and they make adjustments, send it back. So Bogey Golf, if you guys want to check that out, I don't have a link or anything at this point. I don't think Bogey Box.
Yeah.
I don't have a link or anything, but if you guys want to check them out, they've been super cool. We'll do some stuff with them moving forward.
What are your thoughts on the grip, and how do you grip the club? Can you show us the way you grip the club as well?
Yeah, so grip, there's a couple things. So where it lays in your hands is important. I don't know how I'm going to do this with this. So where it lays in your hands is important. More in your fingers of your left hand. Can you see that okay? More in your fingers will be a stronger grip. More in your palm will be a weaker grip. I like to kind of see it from here through here. So somewhere along those lines would be about normal. Some guys like it more 90, some angled. That's okay either way. So I like it a little more in your fingers, your left. Have to make sure your heel pad gets on top of the club. And then with the right hand, I'm just kind of taking my left thumb and putting that down the middle of my right hand, like so. Trying to get kind of the V's at my right collarbone would be about typical.
Tell the crew we had some stuff on topics we haven't talked about yet, so that's why I'm going through the questions. If they're saying she didn't ask a question.
Oh yeah, so Mary, who's, I don't know if you guys have never seen Mary before, does all the questions back here. So if she didn't say your questions because we answered it earlier in some way, shape, or form.
We're trying to hit as many topics.
Or she's trying to hit as many topics. Yeah, she's tough. I'm
telling you, wind speed and direction driving off the tee. I'm going to speak a little bit. It's a statement here, but I'm thinking I want you to speak it.
Wind, speed, direction. What does it say?
So the Sean Murphy Journal is saying wind speed and direction driving off the tee. So maybe things to keep in mind.
Wind, speed, direction driving off the tee. Yeah, before you hit, look at where the wind's going, how fast it's going, and the direction it's going. How's that? And play for it. Okay, I don't know how to answer that.
Have you read the book, The Inner Game of Golf? Your teaching is very Newtonian. Do/should instructions. Are you aware of the dangers? You can't consciously coordinate everything.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but what is it?
It's the inner game of golf.
Yeah. Is the inner game of golf? I'm not sure if I read it or not. I try and clip like a book or two like per week. If I'm really going, at minimum, I read a little. So I read all the time. My communication style is I don't do anything on purpose or not on purpose. It's designed probably as a lump sum of everything I've ever read that I've found to work best. So I think theory is cool, but reality is what I'm going for. And so the communication style, what I say, how I say it, is based on things I've seen actually work or not. And a lot of times book or theory isn't real world application, and it's kind of nice on paper, but maybe doesn't work as well. So yeah, I'll change my communication as needed, but thus far we're doing okay.
David says, hi, I love your lessons. I'm hitting my irons great, but struggling with the driver. I keep holding off the release, leaving the face open. Any tips?
Yeah, don't hold it off anymore and leave the face open. No, if you're hitting your irons good and not driver and you're holding the face that specifically, it's super hard for me to give an answer on that without seeing you do it. So if you can do it online and want to drop $100 or you want to join CogornoGolf.com or come see me, I'd be happy to help that. I'd really have to see what you're doing. I don't know that I see that all the time where like someone hits their irons good but holds off the face. So it sounds like a more specific issue for you. Could be where you're hitting it on the face. Could be that you're hitting your iron solid and the driver's not quite solid, and that's why it's going that way. I really have to see that one.
Eric, can't get enough of your golf tips. My nemesis is a cupped left wrist at the top.
Yeah.
Lots on a drill to get rid of this.
Yes. Cup left wrist at the top. There's a bunch of things that you can do. I would just do something simple like the hanger. So if you watch some of my favorite compression drills or some other videos, you'll see this in there. If you take a plastic hanger you have at home and pop it on the left side of the club like this and take your grip on it. And if I go up to the top and I keep the hanger on my left wrist, you see how my left wrist is nice and flat there? If I cup it, then the thing comes off my wrist. Can you see that? Boom, on my wrist. Off my wrist. So if you put a little hanger on the side, and watch my other videos where I explain it better, but you put a hanger on the side, you're trying to press that hanger against your left wrist all the way to the top and in transition. That will keep that hanger from, or that'll keep that left wrist from getting too cupped. So I'll just do a little hanger drill.
Going back to the team of grip, Mark is asking what is your take on pressure point 3 in the grip? Just came across this trying to get my hand ahead at impact.
Yeah, so in terms of pressure of the grip, some of the common things you will hear, I'm going to just explain this because some people don't know what pressure point 3 is. So some of the common things you're looking for would be the last 3 fingers of your left hand would be more in the pressure. So your left index finger and thumb would be less on. So that would be on. And then this, so your heel pad should stay on the club. So that your thumb and forefinger can be kind of loose, but you want these to be more towards tight. And then your right palm, which is more what he's talking about, your right palm against your right thumb, like this, would stay intact. Okay, so that would be a pressure point right there. That would be a pressure point. And then in terms of your right hand, usually the 2 middle fingers here are on the club, and that's kind of where you're holding it. So it's the last 3 of your left, the middle two of your right are the main pressure points, and the right hand against the left, and maintaining the right hand pressure point against the left throughout the entire swing. Lines up some club face control things, dynamic loft. I like it.
We've got some conversations happening in the chat.
Uh-oh.
And
Big debates.
Training in motion, so they become second nature, so you don't want to control them. And then someone made a comment, I think psychology is huge in golf. I'd like to see more of that on the channel, though. That's
Yeah.
an interesting comment.
Yeah, so honestly, the problem about me doing more psychology stuff is it's not super sexy for YouTube. There's some things that we would do more of in terms of like short game psychology. I could talk about that all day long. Yeah, we do talk more about that on the Facebook group with CogornoGolf.com, because that's like, we don't have to get views for that, right? And I always talk about with these YouTube things, there's stuff I want to talk about, and there's stuff we need to talk about so that enough people watch so that we can actually talk about what we want. Psychology is a huge part of it. We talk about some of it on the Facebook group, not enough, to be honest. There's some courses that we're going to do on course management, thought process. So there'll be more on the membership site that's not on YouTube as much. But for sure, those are conversations that we should have, 100%. I think we'll do maybe one or two more questions because we're at an hour here, and then we'll wrap up.
Any downswing to starting the downswing with the club head first, i.e. ulnar deviation and flexion, and the left wrist like Calvin P. Body first and I'm steep. Only way I can shallow the way I want.
Yeah, nothing wrong with you feeling from the top ulnar deviating along with wrist flexion, which would shallow the club out. If you watch guys like a Dana Dahlquist, for example, I see a lot of his players kind of posing and unhinging and a wrist flexion. The reality is an unhinging goes along with a wrist bow, meaning the more you unhinge, the easier it is to bow. The more you hinge, the more your left wrist cups automatically. The more you hinge the club this way, the more your left wrist cups automatically. The more you unhinge, the more it goes into flat or flex automatically. So from the top, if you're normally steep and hinging this way, you can feel like it's unhinging as you're flexing it, and that looks super shallow, right? Here's unhinging as you're flexing, super shallow. Now from here, you got to make sure you rotate a ton for that to work. But absolutely, you can do that. One more.
When you're at impact, where do you feel most of your weight?
So at impact, where do you feel your weight? Different players have different patterns, but I would say as a stock general rule, you're 50-50 at address. You're working from 50-50, keeping your pivot centered, but you're shifting into the right, probably 70-80%. You're shifting to the left. You're kind of regaining 50-50 in early transition, shifting to the left here. Most good players are 60, 70, 80 on the left foot at impact, and then into the follow through. But that's pressure in your feet. Where you feel your body at could be anywhere depending upon where you're currently coming from. Some guys I have that really feel like they fall forward. Some guys I have that feel like they stay more back as they slide too much. So really depends on where you're coming from. That's a good question. I'm gonna get out of here because I have a super bad headache and I feel like shit. Mary's ready to go home too. So hopefully that you guys enjoyed this. We're gonna come every Monday here still with this. We are doing a 14-day free trial to CogornoGolf.com instead of 7. If you guys want to check that out, pop your swings on there. We'd love to help you guys with that. We're going to be dropping rotation masterclass on March 18th. You guys that want to know more about that, that'll be coming out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This was fun. As always, I'm going to get some Tylenol, and I'll see you guys next week.